What's up, banana bunch? Bunch? Bunch?
Welcome to the Jungle Gyms podcast. What's up, Banana Bunch? You know what time it is. It's time for another episode of the Jungle Gyms podcast. I'm your host, Mark. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. To all of you who are just listening along, thank you so much. I love that you're all out there. Thanks for sticking around with us. I can't believe, I was thinking about this the other day. I've been with the company now 2 years. We're almost at 2 full years of episodes. It's crazy to think about, but I always want to make sure I'm thanking you all for being a part of this. And of course, I know a lot of you have also been jumping over and giving us some subscribes over on YouTube. Very cool of you too, because we're still cranking out content over there too, in addition to releasing the show there, right? Like, I am the busiest man on the planet and I'm having fun doing it. So we've got some fun stuff up for you. You know, I mention this often, and I'll say this right now. You can always reach out to me, podcast@junglegyms.com, if you have questions, thoughts, concerns, requests, you name it. Like, I want to do this for you too, even though it is a lot for me. But for a while, I was getting all kinds of requests about dietary needs and things of that nature. And an overwhelming, and I don't think this will surprise anyone, but an overwhelming amount of those are things about like weight loss, low carb, keto, all of the current buzzwords that are very popular, low sugar. I mean, I know I didn't wear my zero sugar supremacy shirt today, but I'm on with you. And leading into this, I was like, okay, well, we got to look for some of this because obviously we have such a big natural foods and health food selection here too, that I was like, there's got to be something. So through this and through my research, I got connected with a company called Miracle Noodle. You've probably heard of them. They've been around since like 2006. They've been on TV a bunch, and we carry their whole line of products. They're launching some new flavors here soon. And I got in touch with them, and I was like, hey, this might be a fun episode. So what we've got set up for you today is I get to talk with the CEO of the company, who's a doctor, that's fun, right? You like getting a little medical professional there. I have a feeling the future of my show has a good amount of medical doctor appearances on it. I'm here for it. But I had them come on, we did a little interview, and then we actually went and tasted some of their products too, because they've got, in addition to just like the Miracle Noodle brand, I guess, let me back up for you. Miracle Noodle, they're using I believe it's pronounced konjac or cognac. Probably not. I'm going to just listen. I'm telling you this so that if I'm wrong, I'm just sandbagging instead of confidently stating one of them. But it is effectively a noodle made out of plant fibers and mostly water, right? So incredibly low in calories. And they sell these not just, we carry them in the store. You can see them on some of the end caps here at the Fairfield location. But they sell them in just plain varieties and all kinds of different shapes, like, a more ramen noodle kind of shape. They have a penne line. They've got more traditional spaghetti, angel, all that kind of stuff, right? So you get like a bunch of different noodle versions that you can try, but then they also launched a bunch of these ready-to-eat ones. So I actually took some of the ready-to-eat ones, we sampled them so we could kind of check it out and see what you're getting with there. And what's cool about the other ones is that you can just take, drain, and make whatever you want out of it. And then that also absolves me of responsibility of knowing what your macros look like, because I don't want to know. I barely want to know for me, but I have to know for me. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. And these are why I always want you all to reach out to me, because I am going to do the work. And it might not be an answer that you get the following week, but you'll eventually get it, I promise. So thank you to everybody who's reached out to me about this kind of stuff. Happy to keep doing that. I know some of the other ones, meals for singles, that's a whole thing. I think really that's just going to be an episode where I yell at you for 30 minutes and go, eat your leftovers. There's nothing wrong with leftovers. You're being weird about it. Stop creating food waste. That's the hardest part about doing that episode. But I know that one's been requested a lot, and there's a bunch of other ones. I read your emails, I promise. I respond to almost all of you, so I don't think this should really come as much of a surprise, but I want to do this stuff for you. So please, podcast@junglegyms.com. I mean, I know I've talked about the hotline before, but I'm pretty sure only Josh Flowers ever called it. Josh, sorry, I had to call you out there. Thank you so much for doing that. No, I've got a whole list of those that I've been meaning to sift through at some point, because we actually even made some animations for callers so you can watch along to, and I am just so swamped all of the time. I do not have a break. That I just haven't gotten around to all of it. Well, one day, maybe one day. In the meantime, I also want to throw out some in-store news. Of course, we've got some fun stuff coming up. I am emceeing an event that we're doing here for Wells in Liberia through one of our former employees, or I guess he may still technically be employed, but get to MC this event here this weekend at the Oscar Station. I'd give you more details, but as I understand, it's actually already sold out, which is very cool. So great news there. But then, of course, we've got more fun things up the pipeline. I'm working on a couple of things with our, I'll call her the queen of events. I never really know anyone's actual title. It's usually when I meet someone here for the first time, they're like, this is so-and-so. They do events. And then I'm like, okay, well, what's the actual title? How do I refer to them as public? Anyway, April's the coolest, and she's got a bunch of fun stuff, and she and I have been kicking around some ideas. So, of course, as we lock in some of this fun stuff, look, I'm sitting here all the time just like, hey, let's do a food pop-up. Let's do this. Let's bring Dean Regas here, and he'll bring all of his telescopes and we can look at space stuff. So there's a few hints. I think this will all be funny. So stay tuned to that. Stay on junglegyms.com. They have an events page. And last but not least, I know I've mentioned this a bit recently, the International Wine Festival is coming up here soon. It's in November. Get your tickets. We do this bus program every year that I always forget about, where you can actually go to the Eastgate store and they'll bus you to the festival here and bus you back. So that's plenty of time to sober up a little bit on that drive, because it is a bit of a haul between the two stores. Definitely recommend that too. You can go to junglefests.com and get your tickets there. If you can't find them there, just go to junglegyms.com. There's an events page. You know the drill on that too. You've been on a website before. This isn't your first. If you're listening or watching a podcast, right? Yeah, you know what's going on. So on that, let's just jump right into, I wanted to learn what's so miraculous about these noodles, huh? Let's jump there. Welcome to the show, everyone. This is Jonathan of Miracle Noodle. Welcome, Jonathan. I appreciate this.
Thank you very much.
Of course, I felt bad that we had to reschedule, but I'm glad you were able to make it back here with me this time. So I'm really happy about this. So, we just got to start at the top. Miracle Noodle. What's the miracle?
Well, the noodle is 97% water and 3% fiber. So that basically makes it virtually have 0 calories and 0 carbs. So that's what makes it really special.
I love that. Is this made, it's like a shirataki, is that a style or is that actually the item it's made out of?
Yeah, the word shirataki means white waterfall in Japanese, and because it's a very traditional Japanese noodle. And so shirataki is the form of this particular product in a noodle form, basically.
I love that. Okay, cool. I've heard so much. obviously with like the excitement around the low carb diet is huge. Keto being a big buzzword still. I imagine this has been like huge for you. What was the inception of this? Like, how'd you come up with this whole line?
Well, I'm a medical doctor, actually. And in 2004, I had a patient who I was treating for lupus. And I had her on just awful medications, organ transplant meds, really dangerous medications to stop her immune system from attacking her body. And essentially, she was able to get off of all medicines by changing her diet. And she came in completely cleared, and it was really one of the most remarkable things that I had ever seen. And she brought in a whole stack of papers for me to read. And quite frankly, I didn't know about any of these nutritional interventions. You're not really taught those in medical school. And it really changed my entire outlook on medicine. And I really got into, guiding people through lifestyle interventions and diet to be able to improve their medical conditions. And a year later, I was in Japan and I saw this product there. And immediately I thought of my patients that could benefit from this as they were trying to learn how to eat healthier. And I brought it back and started the business, brought my family on board, and that's how Miracle Noodles started.
I love that so much. And what an impressive thing to see in the first place. And what's been fun for me is I've had a decent amount of people recently on the show that have either orbited the medical industry or are doctors and directly a part of it. And it's been fascinating to me to see how many brands have popped up in recent times that really are along what you found, where you're like, oh, wow, obviously there is this like medical angle in general. Of course, like you can take medications to improve your situation. But at the same time, something is, maybe we view it too simply, but something as simple as our diet can really affect our health pretty dramatically. Pretty dramatically,
yeah. Quite frankly, almost all chronic conditions can be at least improved, if not completely reversed, by lifestyle and diet. Obviously, a lot of those changes are dramatic life changes, and therefore not many people, to be honest, are up for that. In the case of my patient Karen, she was really looking at a shortened life with all the medicines that I was putting her on. And, she did her own research and was very, very motivated to make these changes. Not everyone is so motivated when, maybe they're controlled with the medications that they've been given and such. So it can be a big shift for people that many people aren't up to taking up. But obviously the problems also come that a lot of doctors aren't aware of the various interventions either. So when I saw the product, I actually initially thought of it as what I would call a transitional food, a food that people could eat and enjoy having the comfort food experience of eating noodles and rice without having to worry about the negatives of a high starch foods while they were trying to learn how to guide themselves to eating better. But we soon, after I started the company, realized that people were enjoying it just as a noodle alternative and not going back to other noodles. And that's when I really thought that this could be something that quite a number of people could use and benefit from and enjoy. Just adding variety back, getting that comfort food experience back without worrying about the high starch foods.
Love that. And, we at Jungle Gyms, we love catering. We have our natural foods and some of our allergen free, but we like to cater to all these alternative diets as well. So it's been fun for me to get to explore this. And I know we've talked about this off air, so I'll just spoil it for those who are tuning in. But the second half of this episode is going to be a tasting that we're doing of this whole product line. So I'm super stoked about that. And maybe this is a good time for me to have you lead into the product line.
Sure. Well, the traditional Japanese product is just a plain noodle. We've taken that, and this is going way, way back. I started this company actually in 2006, believe it or not. So we've been around for quite some time. And we started with just a plain noodle that we called angel hair, and we then broadened it to recognizable shapes like fettuccine and spaghetti and penne and ziti. And then we made a rice. The rice is basically the noodle just put into the shape of rice so that you get the same benefits, basically essentially a zero carb, zero calorie rice alternative that you can make, all kinds of things with. And then after that, we broadened the line into ready to eat meals. So we started with a pad thai and a vegan pho and a Japanese curry and a Thai tom yum. And those have been out for quite some time and doing well. And then we partnered with Lono Life, which is a bone broth company, and we made a chicken noodle and a beef noodle soup. And what's great about that is that a lot of people who want a rich bone broth with extra protein are not necessarily, maybe they're on a paleo diet, or at the very least, many of them are not looking to combine that with a white flour based noodle. So in this case, it allows you to have a really luscious kind of soup, chicken noodle soup with extra protein from the bone broth. And then the latest is we have 3 keto meals. So these are super low carb for people who are on keto, but people who aren't as well are enjoying them, because not everyone that is carb conscious is on a keto diet. I think still a lot of people are just avoiding the high starch foods. And so this gives you the alternative of having teriyaki noodles and a Thai peanut noodle and an adobo noodle. And those are all vegan and super low carb.
And I imagine that this also provides a somewhat lower calorie entry point for these kinds of products too, because, most of these pasta dishes are generally very high in calories in addition to carbs.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said in the beginning, given that it's actually 97% water and 3% fiber, exactly, it's low carb and low calorie. And so people who are, doing, say, Weight Watchers points or just counting calories, of course, it's definitely a way of adding bulk to make you feel full without adding a whole bunch of extra calories. Like, for example, sometimes I always recommend to my patients to eat like one big salad per day. And sometimes I might not be, I'm pretty good at making like a very filling salad, but sometimes I'll finish that off with like one of our pad thai meals. And it just, it just makes me feel fully satisfied. And I think it's really good for those people who, again, are trying to transition to a healthier diet and want something that makes them feel full, and not that they don't feel deprived or left out, that sort of thing.
That's beautiful. And I mean, and just what I've seen just in my research leading up to meeting you, and obviously seeing it on the shelves in the store, clearly flavor first seems to be the move here, right? I think you said it really well just a moment ago about how, look, I'm speaking for myself. I'm a big person. The big diet thing for me has always been not just a quality of food, but also that thing where you want to feel satiated to it. So it's kind of nice to know. I saw a meme about this the other day where there was like, rice is great when you want to eat a few thousand of something. And I kind of feel that here too, where I'm like, I want a filling bowl of noodles. Like I don't want a bite of them. I want the whole thing. So I love that this is a part of it.
Yeah, it definitely is filling. It's made from a fiber that's called glucomannan. That is really, it's actually a very helpful fiber. It's one of the most potent prebiotic fibers on the planet. So it's going to be good at helping the beneficial bacteria in your gut. It sort of feeds them, and yeah, it definitely is good to give you that sort of satisfying feeling.
Love that. What a cool thing. I had no idea I was going to learn this much about alternative noodles today. I mean, I had a thought maybe, but and I've got to ask, do you have a favorite flavor in the lineup?
Probably the vegan pho, I would say.
A man after my own heart.
Yeah, or the pad thai. Those are probably the top two, and for good reason, I think. The pho, pretty much everyone loves the pho. It's vegan, but it has that rich sort of, you get with the flavor of, I guess, star anise sort of makes the pho special, and you get all those sort of aromatic flavors, and it's really good. My mouth is watering just thinking about it. And a lot of people add chicken, or they add beef, or they add extras. It comes with the broth. You basically, it's a pack of sauce and a pack of broth and a pack of noodles, and people throw that in there, and throw all kinds of vegetables and meat and such if you're a meat eater, and they make a really delicious bowl of pho.
I was going to ask you, because I know some of these are like effectively ready to go, like heat meals, right? But is the preparation pretty simple and like the more standard packaging as well?
Yeah, for the pad thai and the Japanese curry and the tom yum, those are ready right out. You can open up the bag and microwave it, and it's ready to go. For the pho and the keto meals, you have to mix them together, but it's pretty quick.
Oh my gosh, one step, that's one too many. That is incredible. Well, something I had to ask you is, what's the future look like? I mean, you've been doing this since 2006. Do you have like some new flavors on the horizon, or new product ideas coming out? Is this my Jungle Gyms exclusive?
Yeah, we do. There's a few plants that haven't been made into pasta yet that are also nutrient dense. I can't actually share what they are until we have a formal release, but that's something that's coming around the corner. And then in the new year, we're actually going to be launching a fettuccine pesto and a spaghetti marinara in a cup that people can just bring to work and mix them together. And the spaghetti marinara is like, I think it's 35 calories for basically a full bowl of spaghetti marinara. And
that's insane.
Yeah, and the pesto, of course, has more calories, but it's low carb, but very clean. Everything's got very clean ingredients, and those are coming out very soon. And then we'll have mac and cheese very soon after the new year as well, which will be made with our penne noodle, the closest thing that we have to a macaroni, and we'll have a vegan mac and cheese and a regular mac and cheese as well.
Oh, cool. I bet people are going to love that. I was excited when I was reading on the site. I saw is it a vegan bolognese or just a bolognese that was ready to eat, right?
We used to have a vegan bolognese. Okay. And we don't have that. We're reformulating that. So it's currently not available. And that's also going to have a really interesting, it's also going to have a very interesting plant protein that is not commonly used, but can really be made into a really good crumble to make the bolognese really really meaty. So that I'm hoping to have that probably by the end of February. So very excited to re-release that that product.
That sounds delicious. I'm super excited about this. I mean, I'm going to run, like, I know we've been talking this up for a little bit, but I'm excited. I'm going to run the menu, as it were, and try all these things out. So I'm so thankful that you took the time to come on here and tell me about the products, Dr. Carp. This is very cool.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. And obviously, not just thanks for your time, but everybody should check you out at miracledoodle.com, right? And if I understand, you've got some fun, you're doing a little edutainment, as I like to put it, on the site soon. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're actually going to have a whole host of coaching and classes for nutrition. I actually hold a class every Wednesday night. So if you visit the site and join our newsletter, you'll definitely get an invite to my weekly class. But on top of that, we'll have a whole host of other educational lifestyle help, as well as coaching and a whole host of things coming up in the new year now and soon in the new year as well.
Very cool. Yeah, it just makes too much sense, honestly, with a product like this, and obviously your background. I mean, what a great offer. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Now that we've heard from everyone at Miracle Noodles, I thought it'd be fun if I tasted. So I'm just going to get these two out of the way right now. So the flavors I'm getting to try today are Japanese curry, and the other is spaghetti marinara. Now the whole thing, like we talked about in the interview, plant-based noodles, all this fun stuff. A big reason I'm doing this is because, and I probably mentioned this in my lead up, but a lot of you have been reaching out about like, hey, I need easy to go meals. I'm looking for things that hit like keto or low carb, all this stuff. And then this turns into a conversation about us complaining about how carbs are so hard to replace. But thankfully we carry brands. Well, like, for my bread needs, Doughjoy bread here in the store. And of course for pasta, Miracle Noodles. So these are really easy. I use these two, and I've got a package right here. This is the vegan pho on the table. This one takes a little more effort, but the two I'm trying, these are their ready to eat style. So I'm going to try, we'll just put those there. I'm going to try the spaghetti marinara first. So let's take a quick look overhead. All right. So this is what we're looking at. I just took the noodles, microwaved it for about a minute, put it in the bowl, toss it up. So it's a little browner than expected, but it does smell like spaghetti sauce. So I'm happy about that. Kind of mix it up. It's, I would say if you're trying to, look, all of us that do the diet thing, we're all like just trying to find something that's close. And I would say this looks pretty right on for the most part. However, and I'll move you out of the way, vegan pho. However, there's like little things, right? Like it's not quite, you get the drill. I gave you a whole rundown on what shirataki noodles are. So they're kind of nice. They're a little translucent. Kind of reminds me almost of like rice noodles. Let's see how close do we think this is going to be close? I mean, it's for this entire bowl is like 80 calories. Actually, that's surprisingly accurate. You get like a nice rich tomato flavor. I definitely get some garlic in there. For microwave spaghetti marinara, this is probably one of the better flavors I've tasted. Although, East Coast kid here, we would never do this back home. But now I'm out of control, so I have to. Honestly, I'm pretty impressed with that. The differences I noticed mostly are texturally speaking. So like these, the noodles that they use here, like we talked about before, they have a slightly different texture. It's not quite what I would expect in a regular pasta, but it's also pretty recognizable and it's similar. It's not so dissimilar that you're going to be mad about it. And again, I think all of us that go into these dietary loops, we're kind of expecting things to be, like in the ballpark of it and not necessarily a perfect recreation, right? It's like we're trying to hit some notes. We're trying to provide some options for people on certain dietary restrictions, all that stuff. And I think for most of us in those situations, we're really just looking at this like, I just want something that's close, right? I want to have that little thing, So here, let me get a little overhead shot of the Japanese curry. So the Japanese curry one, I am very excited about. There's some little carrots in here. The smell's pretty awesome. And you know what? I love a Japanese curry dish. So I'm curious. This is one I'm like, you can tell I'm actually giving a little extra action, right? So as I mentioned with the spaghetti sauce, the sauce in these are somewhat runnier than you're probably anticipating. And so what I'm trying to do is ensure, while vamping to all of you in the audience, to ensure that my noodles are as dressed as possible. But, we got to get a nice bite. I mean, it smells pretty good. Again, I get a bit of that tomato similarity here. And if I haven't mentioned this, there's a whole lineup of these. There's a pad thai. I mean, there's all kinds of options. So there's something that fit everybody's needs. And even cooler, they've also got it where they're plain and you can just add whatever you want to it. But that might defeat the purpose of the diet. So anyway, let's go Japanese curry, shall we? Okay, again, similar texture thing. I don't think we're out of control on the noodles on that. The flavor on this is really good, although weirdly, I don't get it. I get more of that tomato than I do the curry flavor. However, I do think this one's tasty. This is probably, I've tried a lot of these flavors so far because, they've been a brand since I believe it was 2006. And over the years, I've tried so many of these different flavors as they've come out with it. This is probably one of the better ones, even if it's not 100% accurate in the flavor wise. And now I'm trying to think, is something particularly fatty or caloric or high in something in the world of curry? That's my next episode, so you'll have to stay tuned on that. I am pretty happy with this though. You definitely get, the Japanese curry's a little sweeter. You get that kind of like brown sauce vibe. I'm really enjoying this one of the two. Now they were both good, but I really think that this Japanese curry one stands out, which makes me very excited. Now, like I said, I had the vegan pho here. I'm not making this one today just because this takes a lot more. You've got to on some of these, and make sure you check because they'll say, for example, this one does not say ready to eat. The other two did. But this one, and it's not a ton of work. It's just I'm in a podcast studio, not in a kitchen or a house. So the prep on this one, for example, is like open the noodles, drain the water. You can rinse the noodles, I believe, if need be, since these are made, they're like mostly water with a little bit of plant fiber. And then, microwave it, add the sauce, toss the whole thing up. They've got you doing it a stovetop as an option. I bet that's killer. And I honestly wonder with some of these, since they all did have a stovetop option, I'm wondering if I had a cooking plate in here, and could actually make something more effectively, if it would change the texture in a pleasing manner. It might also thicken the sauce a little bit more than the microwave would. Either way, I'm pretty impressed with these. So I would say my vote would be, if you're thinking about trying these, maybe lean into some of the Asian flavors. I think this is a little more accurate. The spaghetti was accurate too. There's just something in me that's not going to let me go. That's the perfect marinara. It's good though, please. Know your reviewers. So that way when they try things, you're just like, oh, he's just admitting to his personal biases and not some take on this. But I really like the Japanese curry. I bet the pho is awesome. I saw there's a pad thai. I saw there's some other ones out there. So I would encourage you to give these a try. And at the time of this recording and this episode's release, they are on sale for $1 off in the store. So that might be another incentive for you. How beautiful is that? Well, hey, that brings me about to the end of the show. So here's what we're going to do, everyone. First off, I'm going to thank you all for tuning in as always. I really appreciate the help. Thank you for the support and the love. It's been really great I'm just watching those downloads fly up, and that makes me very happy. We had some great action on YouTube this week. So thanks to all of you who keep coming over and joining our subscriber base over there. It's really cool of you. I really, really, really appreciate the support. And even though people are watching me do this out here, I'm guessing they might be first timers. Maybe they don't watch the show, but I'm always offering, whenever I have a tasting, you want to come try this stuff, just come in the office. Maybe not while I'm recording, be a little polite about it, wave, and I'll wave you in. That'd be fun. But I do love sharing with you all. I think this is a lot of fun. And that way I don't have to con all of my coworkers into coming down here at the end of the day. Like, hey guys, I got some bowls of noodles and some leftover soda. Who wants it? But no, legitimately, thank you as always. I really appreciate the support. I've got more great episodes coming up here. I'm trying to think of some fun ones you can get excited for. But no, you know what? I just need you to just get regularly excited. That's where we're at. I'm making candles in here. I'm making new friends in here. It's going to be great. And if there's something you ever want to see on the show or you want to learn more about, like so many of you have done before, please reach out to me at podcast@junglegyms.com. I love to hear from you. I'm a chatty type if you can't tell. And on that, Normally you'd see me out in the aisles, but I'm actually gonna just sit in my office and eat all of these noodles in front of passing customers. It's gonna be a little uncomfortable for all of us. See you next time.
The Jungle Gyms podcast is recorded in the WJJI studio inside Jungle Gyms International Market in Fairfield, Ohio. The Jungle Gyms podcast is produced and hosted by Mark Borison.